Welcome back to DXB today, where we are diving into the hidden gems that you need to visit in 2025. Get your vacations booked early. Our next guest has to entice and inspire her readers to travel through her words. So how do you capture a destination and make readers think, I really want to go there? Well, let's ask the expert herself. Yvonne Mtengwa is in the studio. She's the founder and editor-in-chief of Travel Essence magazine. Yvonne, always a pleasure to have you on.
Always a pleasure to be back. I missed you guys.
We miss you, and we love you all the time. And I'm going to ask the obvious question. I've asked everyone so far, but we want to know your personal travel recommendations, your bucket list for 2025.
I'll always be biased, you know this, right? I'll
Africa.
always start with that opening.
Yes,
and
girl.
I'll be like Zahira and toot my own. So I will start with Zimbabwe with the close second on South Africa as well.
Nice.
How many do you need? Because I can go on and on.
How about your top five?
Top five.
Apart from the ones you've mentioned.
All right, so let's go with Mauritius. I think Mauritius is really incredible. Nice touch of luxury, but I also love the nature. There's so much nature. There's so much to take in and soak up with Mauritius. It's beautiful. One that I saw this year that was a first for me was Malawi. And they don't call it the warm heart of Africa for nothing. It's such a special, untamed, undiscovered, little beautiful part of Africa that I think everybody should make way to check out.
And we will.
Yes, you must. And then maybe I would throw in, I think Rwanda is always special.
Yeah.
I think Rwanda is always so special. There's just such a beautiful story behind its people. It's a beautiful destination, and it's the empowering story behind, you know, the people and the resilience and the openness to everything. So I do like Rwanda. Rwanda's great.
I wanted to ask you, how does the media play a role in people's travel plans, and how is it shaping maybe the future of travel as well?
It's huge. I mean, we look at how we are, right? Our day-to-day lives are fixated on our phones. We need to, where are we going to get the information, where are we going to get the details? So it's really great to be able to touch on different points of media. It doesn't really matter how big or small. I think everybody has an opportunity to have some level of advocacy and to share their stories. And in the world of digital space and social media, we should all be telling a story about what makes these places so amazing, right?
It's true, because all these videos that I see on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to save this and save this and save that as well.
Yeah,
It's
it can be quite dreamy. It's always really, really special, but I think beyond that, especially for people like myself and Zahira, we're constantly on the road. Sometimes you do want to kind of put that away and really immerse yourself in the soul and the spirit of the place. And that's where the stories come in, your communication with people, how you're talking to people, from the guy who's taking you on your game drive to the little lady that's showing you the little village in a community upliftment project or something. There's always so much to unearth in those experiences.
Now, Yvonne, we've talked about this a lot, but one of the questions that always comes at me is price points when it comes to Africa. But there is a range that you can approach the continent with. Talk to us about how to approach it and how to sort of structure which way you want to go.
So, obviously, key is why are you going and where do you want to go? Let's start there. That's baseline. Why are you going? Where do you want to go? So if you're looking for something more adventurous, hardly are you going to go and settle for a city, right? If you're looking to disconnect, there's certain places that you'll choose over others. On price point, I think everywhere has a wide range in terms of price points. I think it's important that we always hear the topic of Africa being expensive, and it does have a higher ticket, but we also have to think about accessibility as well. To get to some of these really great places, it's not a direct flight. You get onto one flight and then you have to get onto several to get there. So you also have to think about the time element, and that's what adds up in the cost. But I also want to end with saying that when you get there, you will see why.
100%.
Why it's valuable, why the spend makes sense, because the experience is unlike anything you've ever had before.
Yvonne, how would you say the way people plan their travel trips have changed? Because, I mean, with things like travel media that play such a big role in shaping the way we, look at our itinerary and choose a destination, etc., how has that changed?
I think I think word of mouth is always a great deal. Like just now we've been talking about where you went and where you want to go and why. I read up on this and I read up on that, or I have a friend that went here and I went there, right? So I think it's really, really critical that you source as much bodies of content as you can to create an idea of what you want. Because travel for me is aspirational. There's things that I get on a flight for a reason. I don't just go just to go, right? So I will start off with maybe looking within my circle and beyond there, contacts who's gone, and try to get a bit of insider information, and then I'll work backwards from there. But I think as a consumer, it's really, really important that we ask. the right questions, and the details matter. The details matter because you're not going to troll up 9 hours on a flight to get there and be hopefully underwhelmed. You want it to be quite special because it took you a good bit to get there in spend and in time, right?
Absolutely. Yvonne, I mean, we were talking about travel expenses.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a question for the backpackers,
Yes.
the solo travelers, people that like to rough it a little bit. So we know Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Australia, these places are famous for being very, very welcoming to backpackers and solo travelers. What hidden gems do you think is an upcoming market for that type of travel?
That's a good question. Okay, so I will speak on the context of the continent of Africa. Malawi is a good one for sure. I think you can certainly do a lot of backpacker travel in Zimbabwe. I think South Africa is an interesting one to dabble.
You got to pick your city.
You have to pick. You have to pick
Yeah.
your city. I
Yeah.
think there's what we're seeing a lot in this space is a lot of curated experiences, right? So you can actually do some recon and find out who's curating these experiences and have a more localized, personalized approach to your experience from the point that you get to the airport end to end. You have a guide. You have a team of people that are taking you around and they're taking you to the less conventional places, and you have lunch with the auntie in the village, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know what
I
I
love
mean.
that.
And that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that actually speaks to your soul.
Yes.
And if you can incorporate all of those things to say, I'm staying at a resort, but I also get to move off the resort for a few hours. I know we did a lot of that in Mauritius, for example, this year, where they have these groups of locals that come together and they curate experiences, so you get to learn about each and every attraction in that city, but through the perspective of someone who lives there, works there, eats there. And I think that's what makes it so special.
Exactly.
So after you have a day of that, you can then go back to your luxury whatnot if you've taken that option, or you
Yeah.
can go back to your hostel if you've taken that option. Whichever you choose, you really can. Your holiday doesn't have to be one track. It can be many, many things all wrapped up in one.
I totally agree with you on that, because when I went to Korea, I did the same thing. I was having dinner with the aunties over there, walking into the old streets, having their food, having a guide from the city itself to take me around, and just I've tried the handbook on. So I think it's very important for people to immerse themselves in the culture, especially in the countries that they're going to as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so critical, because I think that's what makes, if you think about hospitality in the grand scheme of things, you get a key card, you get a room, and maybe it's really pretty and you've got a nice little platter of this, that, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, what does your experience look like? What are you looking for? You know, so if you're looking for a retreat and you want to get out, then you need to get out into nature. You need to do grounding. I know personally, and I know Zahira does this a lot, the taking off the shoes and, watching the sunrise with no shoes on. Those are things that are life-changing in a sense, but we don't do enough of it.
True.
Even here and in our day-to-day lives, we don't do enough of it. So
I did that in when I went to Zanzibar. Just took my shoes off while by the water, watching the sunrise.
and there's
It was
nothing
beautiful.
like it, right? It's absolutely, it's incredible,
Yeah.
and it's essential.
Yvonne, some great tips there. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing such wonderful insights with us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me, guys.
Ahmed, I believe you have our DXB in 60.
I do. I don't know if you're ready for this.
Oh, here we go. All
It's
right.
going to be a couple of questions just to get to know you better. I think you
Should I warm
already
up?
know this
Should I
already.
warm up? No.
So just like take it easy. It's
All
gonna
right.
be cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to cue the clock in 3, 2, 1. What was your first job?
Stylist.
Okay. A superpower you wish you had.
Fly.
Your biggest inspiration?
My son.
That's nice. The most memorable trip.
Oh, Japan.
Okay. Favorite place to unwind after a long day here in Dubai?
My garden.
Nice, I like that. What's your favorite restaurant in Dubai?
Le Petit Maison.
Okay. Movie, a series that you recommend?
Law and Order. There's 24 seasons.
I like that. A book that changed your life.
I'm not a good reader. Roald Dahl, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I like that. That's nice.
Banger.
A destination that you'd keep going to.
Kenya.
Okay. And if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. Nelson Mandela.
And one last question. Why Dubai?
It's the best of all worlds for me.
I like that. That was great. Thank you so much.
Did I make the time?
Yes, you did. You
Made
did
the
actually.
time.
Right on time.
Very well done. Zahira, it's been a genuine pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
You've been an inspiration, inspired some locations for us for 2025.
Fantastic.
And Yvonne, always a pleasure
Always
to
a
have you
pleasure.
here. We need to go to Africa together.
I think it's time. 2025 is it, friends?
I'm feeling a group
Yeah,
trip.
all of us.
Like,
Group
I'm
trip.
feeling group
Paris,
travel.
ask if Yvonne wants to go with you as well.
She does. She does.
Oh, I can rough it as well. I mean, listen, we do all
I
of
think
that.
we'd do like
I
a
think
great
we'll do
trip.
great.
Luxury tent. Yes.
Yes.
Best of
Yeah.
both
We'll
worlds.
meet up in town.
Ashley somewhere on the side, just waiting
Guys,
for us to be done.
such a pleasure to have you here, and
you.
we can't wait to follow your travels across 2025 and beyond. But for right now, we're going to take a little break. When we're back, we're going to have the musical stylings of Sean Lipsey. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned right here on DXB Today.